Though our picture of pterosaurs has changed with new evidence, their place in our imaginations has never wavered. Bob Bakker has followed the pterosaur's trajectory through science and popular culture.
I like pterodactyls. A lot of people like pterodactyls. How science has viewed pterodactyls has gone in a complete circle. The most exciting thought about pterodactyls is this. Watch a movie with good pterodactyls. Watch King Kong. You know, the pteranodon that tried to eat Fay Ray, this great big black, harpyish, ugly pterodactyl comes down, grabs Fay Ray, and she screams, and King Kong saves her. What we're realizing now is something awfully obvious. Pterodactyls weren't gray. They weren't ugly, bat-like, black monsters.
While the question of wing structure remains unsettled, scientists look for other clues to pterosaur behavior. The answers may lie in the Niobrara chalk bed in Kansas, where the fossils tell a surprisingly detailed story about the lives of the pterosaurs. For decades, paleontologists recognized that two distinct types of pteranodons were coming out of the Niobrara chalk beds. Big ones with 25-foot wingspans and enormous head crests, and smaller, more numerous ones with modest crests. With these two different species, Chris Bennett seems to have solved the puzzle. The large pteranodons had enormous crests, longer than their bodies. The smaller pteranodons had much more modest crests, but larger pelvic openings.
The fact that they differ only in size and in the size of the cranial crest and in the pelvis made me think that they were sexes. And the fact that the small pelvis here has such a large opening makes me think that they're females.
Bennett's analysis of the bones revealed that young pteranodons grew quickly. From just a few inches inside an egg, they developed to some 20 feet across when ready to leave the nest.
The implication of this is that they would require considerable parental care. So their mothers would have to be feeding them, bringing fish and so forth in to feed them.
The development of parental care enabled Pteranodon to grow to unprecedented size with a wingspan of more than 23 feet. But Pteranodon was dwarfed by what came later. In 1972, a pterosaur emerged from the Texas Badlands that would set the scientific community abuzz. A giant with the tongue-twisting name of Quetzalcoatlus. It was named after the Aztec deity depicted as a feathered serpent. Known from a single enormous fossilized wing bone, Quetzalcoatlus was one of the last and perhaps the greatest of the flying reptiles. It lived around 70 million years ago in the Cretaceous period, the end of the age of the dinosaurs. In the Cretaceous, the area that is now Big Bend, Texas, was a floodplain, fed by a system of rivers. The landscape was sandy and sparsely forested. Quetzalcoatlus eked out a living probing the shallows for crabs and mollusks, which it would crack with its strong, toothless beak. Quetzalcoatlus may also have lived like a vulture, scavenging meat from drowned animals. In full flight, Quetzalcoatlus would have been the size of a military aircraft with a wingspan of 39 feet and weighing up to 200 pounds. But the discovery reopened an old question. Had evolution played a trick on pterosaurs, making them too big to fly? In 1985, Paul McCready, an aeronautical engineer and a team of scientists, attempted the impossible, to build a flying model of the world's largest pterosaur. Quetzalcoatlus would be the largest flying animal of all time if it could get off the ground. McCready's prototypes, designed as gliders, launched easily. But they were not successful. Macready looked to nature. Flapping wings had to be the answer. Instead of muscles, Macready used computerized motors to simulate Quetzalcoatlus' flight. The 44-pound robotic reptile could flap and twist its wings, spread its digits, and tilt its head to compensate for wind conditions. But could technology reproduce what nature perfected? At the end of 1985, in Death Valley, California, Quetzalcoatlus made its debut. And for the first time in 65 million years, a pterosaur's shadow crossed the earth. Though Macready's model of Quetzalcoatlus was half its size and 1/4 the weight of the living pterosaur, it proved that the giant's body plan made it a powerful flyer. Pterosaurs survived for more than 150 million years throughout the age of dinosaurs. Like the dinosaurs, 65 million years ago, they vanished. Some scientists have suggested that the high winds brought on by the changing climate at the end of the Cretaceous literally blew the pterosaur into extinction. Some suppose they were simply outcompeted by birds. It may have been a matter of size.
When the pterodactyls suffered their final extinction, they were all big. I mean, really big. They were in that upper zone of mobile big critters that suffer extinction. Birds, meanwhile, include a great variety of small and medium species. So they sailed through the extinction. They survived. They were below the threshold. Pterodactyls were all above the threshold and got knocked out.
Only in the imagination of science does the pterosaur darken the skies. What we learn about these Goliaths of prehistory sheds light not upon our realm, but theirs, a dim and hazy world that we can only imagine through flights of fancy.